AITA for refusing to pay my stepbrother's fines after he ran an illegal business out of my garage without permission? I, 32M, never thought I'd be posting here, but my family has completely turned against me, and I need some outside perspective. This situation has been building for 8 months, and it finally exploded last week in a way I never anticipated. A bit of background. I'm a licensed electrician. I've been working in the trade since I was 19, starting as an apprentice right out of high school. I'm not wealthy by any means, but I'm smart with my money. I don't drink, I don't gamble, and I drive a 10-year-old truck that runs perfectly because I maintain it myself. For the past 6 years, I've been saving every spare dollar for a down payment on a house. Last March, I finally did it. I bought a small 3-bedroom starter home in a quiet residential neighborhood. It's nothing fancy, built in 1987, needs some cosmetic updates, but it's mine. The biggest selling point was the detached 2-car garage. As an electrician, I have a significant tool collection, and I've always dreamed of having my own workshop space where I could take on small side projects, restore furniture, maybe eventually flip some vintage electronics. The garage was perfect. I spent the first 2 months after closing just setting it up. I installed proper lighting, added a small HVAC unit, put in a quality workbench, and organized all my tools on pegboards and in rolling cabinets. I even poured money into a good security system with cameras covering the driveway and garage entrance. By the time I was done, I'd invested probably $8,000 into making that space exactly what I wanted. Here's where my stepbrother Derek, 28M, enters the picture. My mom passed away when I was 14. My dad remarried when I was 17 to Derek's mom, Linda. Derek and I were never close. He's 4 years younger, and we have absolutely nothing in common. Where I was always focused on learning a trade and building a career, Derek has bounced from job to job his entire adult life. He's worked at car washes, fast food restaurants, retail stores, and for about 2 years, he was a lube technician at one of those quick oil change places. He quit that job about a year ago because, according to him, his manager didn't respect him. Since then, Derek has been living with my dad and Linda, supposedly looking for work while doing small car repairs for friends on the side. My dad has always babied Derek. He excuses every failure, every bad decision, every shortcut Derek takes. He just needs a break, Dad always says. He's finding himself. Derek is 28 years old. He's been finding himself for a decade. The problem started in May, about 2 months after I finished setting up my garage. Derek showed up one Saturday morning unannounced, said he was in the neighborhood, and asked if he could borrow the garage for a couple hours to change the oil in a friend's car. I was hesitant, but it seemed like a simple request, and I was trying to maintain some semblance of family peace. "Just this once," I told him, "and clean up after yourself." He said sure, no problem. I went back inside to do some work, and about 4 hours later, I went out to check on things. Derek was gone. There was a puddle of oil on the concrete floor that he hadn't cleaned up, my shop towels had been used and left in a pile, and one of my socket sets was sitting open on the workbench with pieces scattered everywhere. I texted him about the mess. His response: "Sorry bro, got called away. I'll come clean it next week." He never did. 2 weeks later, Derek showed up again. This time, he didn't even ask. I came home from work on a Wednesday evening to find him in my garage, hood up on some Honda Civic I'd never seen before, with some guy I didn't know standing around watching. "Hey man," Derek said, casual as could be, "just doing a brake job for Tyler here. Should be done in an hour." I pulled Derek aside. "You can't just show up and use my garage without asking. This is my property." Derek gave me this look like I was being ridiculous. "It's just for an hour, man. Family helps family. Besides, it's not like you're using it right now." I didn't want to make a scene in front of his friend, so I told him to finish up, but that we needed to talk afterward. When I came back out an hour later, they were gone. The brake job was apparently done, but there were brake pad boxes in my trash, dirty brake fluid dripped on my floor, and my torque wrench, a $180 snap-on tool, was sitting on the ground, covered in grease. That night, I called my dad to vent. His response floored me. "Come on, son, Derek's just trying to earn some money. He's good with cars. Would it kill you to help him out? You've got that big garage just sitting there. Let him use it until he gets on his feet." "Dad, it's my house. My garage. I set it up for my use, not to run Derek's charity." "You're being selfish. Family helps family." The escalation. Over the next 3 months, despite my objections, Derek kept showing up. Sometimes he'd text me a few hours before asking to borrow the space. Other times, he'd just appear. I came home multiple times to find cars in my driveway that didn't belong to anyone I knew, with Derek underneath them, doing God knows what. He started bringing his own cheap tools, but whenever mine were more convenient, he'd just help himself. I began noticing things missing. A set of Allen wrenches. A multimeter I used for electrical work. My creeper, the wheeled board you lie on to slide under cars, just vanished one day. When I asked Derek about it, he claimed he didn't know what happened to it, but that he'd keep an eye out. Then the neighbors started complaining. My next-door neighbor, Margaret, a retired woman in her 60s who's lived on the street for 30 years, knocked on my door one evening in August. She was polite but clearly frustrated. "I don't want to cause problems," she said, "but someone's been running power tools in your garage until 10, 11 at night. I can hear it through my bedroom window. I'm not sleeping well." I apologized profusely and assured her it wouldn't happen again. That night, I texted Derek telling him he was done using my garage. "No more. Period." His response, "That's cold, bro. I have jobs lined up. Dad's gonna be pissed when he hears about this." Sure enough, within an hour, my phone rang. "Dad, why are you kicking Derek out? He's finally building something for himself, and you're trying to tear him down." "He's not building anything, Dad. He's using my property without permission, keeping my neighbors awake, and losing my tools. I'm done. You've always been jealous of Derek. Ever since you were kids." I hung up. The following Saturday, I woke up at 7 a.m. to the sound of an impact wrench in my garage. I threw on clothes and stormed outside to find Derek and two of his friends working on 3 different cars simultaneously. My garage door was wide open, there was a car lifted on a jack that looked precarious at best, and someone had brought a portable radio that was blasting music. "Derek, what the hell is going on?" He barely looked up. "Big weekend, bro, gotta knock these out. I'll be done by tonight. You need to leave." "All of you." One of his friends, a guy with tattoos up his arms, gave me a look. "Dude, relax. We're almost done with this one. I don't know you. You don't get an opinion. Get off my property." It took 45 minutes of arguing, but they finally left. In the aftermath, I discovered the real damage. My garage floor had oil stains that wouldn't come out. Someone had left used oil in buckets that had been poured into my household trash cans, oil you're supposed to dispose of properly at an auto parts store or recycling center. There were car parts scattered everywhere. And when I inventoried my tools, I was missing over $2,000 worth of equipment. My snap-on ratchet set, multiple specialty electrical tools, my diagnostic multimeter, a cordless impact driver, and dozens of smaller items. Just gone. I texted Derek asking about my missing tools. His response, "I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you misplaced them. You shouldn't accuse family of stealing." I called my dad. I told him about the missing tools, the property damage, the oil in my trash. Derek says he didn't take anything. Why would he lie? You probably just lost track of your stuff. You've always been disorganized. I've never been disorganized a day in my life, but sure, Dad. Update 1. The code violations. About 3 weeks after I kicked Derek out, I got a knock on my door from a city code enforcement officer. Apparently, one of my neighbors, I suspect Margaret, though I don't blame her, had filed a complaint about what appeared to be an unauthorized automotive repair business operating out of my residential property. The officer was professional but firm. He explained that my neighborhood was zoned residential, and operating a commercial business, particularly one involving automotive repair, was a violation of city code. There were also environmental concerns about improper disposal of automotive fluids, which he'd received separate reports about. "I'm not running a business," I explained. "My stepbrother was using my garage without permission. I've already kicked him out." The officer nodded sympathetically but explained that as the property owner, I was ultimately responsible for activities on my property. He issued a formal warning and told me that any further violations could result in fines starting at $500 per incident. I was furious. I called Derek immediately. "You got me a code violation. The city came to my house." "That's not my fault," Derek said. "Probably one of your uptight neighbors. They need to mind their business." "You were running an illegal business out of my garage, Derek. You don't have a business license. You don't have insurance. You're not zoned for commercial activity. Do you understand what you've done?" "Bro, it was just helping some friends with their cars. That's not a business. You're being dramatic. You were charging people money, Derek. That's the literal definition of a business." He hung up on me. That weekend, I changed the locks on my garage, installed new deadbolts, and added padlocks to the outside doors. I also went through my security camera footage from the past few months and documented every time Derek had been on my property. The footage showed at least 15 different vehicles being worked on over a 3-month period. In one instance, I could clearly see Derek handing cash to his friend after completing a job, cash that was then handed over to Derek. This wasn't just helping friends. This was a full-on unlicensed auto repair operation. Update 2. Dad doubles down. The following week, I got a call from Linda, my stepmom. She'd never been warm to me. I was always Carol's son, a reminder of my dad's first marriage, but she usually maintained a civil distance. This time, she was on the attack. "Your father is devastated," she said. "Derek is struggling, and you're making it worse. He was finally finding something he's good at, and you're crushing his dreams. His dreams involve using my property without permission, stealing my tools, and getting me code violations. I'm not crushing his dreams. He's facing the consequences of his actions. You've always thought you were better than Derek. Just because you have a license and a trade doesn't mean you're superior. Derek's smart. He just learns differently. Linda, I'm not having this conversation. Derek is not welcome on my property." "That's final." She hung up, and I immediately got a text from my dad. "Your stepmother is crying because of you. I hope you're proud of yourself." For the next 2 weeks, I got daily messages from my dad ranging from guilt trips to outright accusations. According to him, I was selfish, jealous, petty, and vindictive. I was tearing the family apart over a few tools and some garage time. He even suggested I should just give Derek the money to replace whatever he allegedly took, since keeping peace in the family is more important than a few $100s. A few $100s. I had documented over $2,000 in missing tools with receipts. I stopped responding to the messages. Update 3. The investigation. About 6 weeks after the initial code enforcement visit, I got another knock on my door. This time, it was 2 officers from the city's business licensing division. They had received additional complaints and had apparently opened a formal investigation into the unlicensed business operating from my address. I invited them in and explained the entire situation. I showed them my security camera footage. I gave them dates, times, license plates of vehicles that had been serviced, and screenshots of text messages between me and Derek where he discussed jobs he was doing at my place. I even showed them social media posts where Derek had advertised his mobile mechanic services and listed my address as his shop location. The officers were thorough. They thanked me for my cooperation and said they'd be in touch. 2 weeks later, I learned that the city had fined Derek directly for operating an unlicensed automotive repair business. The fines were significant: $1,500 for operating without a business license, $750 for zoning violations, and $500 for improper disposal of hazardous materials, the oil in my trash cans. They'd apparently traced several of his clients, who confirmed they'd paid him for services. Total fines: $2,750. Here's where it gets infuriating. Update 4. The audacity. I was at work last Thursday when my phone started blowing up. First, a text from Derek, "You need to call me now." Then a text from my dad, "What did you do? Derek just got fined almost $3,000. You need to fix this." Then a voicemail from Linda, crying, saying I'd ruined Derek's life, and that she never thought I could be so cruel. I called Derek back during my lunch break. "You reported me to the city," he said, his voice shaking with anger. "You got me fined." "No, Derek. You reported yourself by running an illegal business out of my garage and advertising it on Facebook. The neighbors complained because you were loud and obnoxious. The city investigated because you were breaking the law. I just told them the truth. I can't pay these fines. I don't have that kind of money." "That sounds like a you problem." "You're going to pay them," he said. "Dad said you should pay them since it was your property." I actually laughed. "You think I'm going to pay $2,750 in fines that you earned by illegally using my property against my wishes? Are you insane? You owe me. You kicked me out when I was finally making money. If you'd just let me keep using the garage, none of this would have happened." "Derek, let me be very clear. I don't owe you anything. You used my property without permission. You stole over $2,000 worth of my tools, which, by the way, I'm prepared to pursue legally if you don't return them or reimburse me. You got me a code violation on my own home. You damaged my relationship with my neighbors. And now you want me to pay your fines? No. Absolutely not. This conversation is over." I hung up. That night, my dad showed up at my house unannounced. I saw him on the doorbell camera and considered not answering, but I decided to face this head-on. "Dad, I'm not paying Derek's fines." "You don't understand," he said, his face red. "Derek doesn't have this money. If he doesn't pay, there could be additional penalties. His credit will be ruined. He might not be able to get a real job." "Dad, Derek hasn't held a real job for more than 6 months at a time in his entire adult life. His problems are not my responsibility. He's family. He's a thief who exploited my trust and damaged my property. Family doesn't mean I have to be a doormat. Your mother would be ashamed of you." I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. "Don't you dare bring Mom into this. Mom raised me to work hard, respect other people's property, and take responsibility for my actions. Derek doesn't do any of those things. And neither do you, apparently, because you've spent your entire marriage to Linda excusing his behavior instead of holding him accountable." My dad's face went through about 6 different emotions. Then he turned and walked back to his car without another word. Update 5. The Aftermath and Reflection. It's been 2 weeks since that confrontation with my dad. The fallout has been significant but, honestly, not as bad as I expected. My dad hasn't spoken to me. Linda sends me passive-aggressive text messages every few days, things like, "Hope you're enjoying your peace and quiet while Derek suffers," and "Family remembers who was there for them." I've muted her notifications. Derek, apparently, set up a GoFundMe to pay his fines. He painted himself as a small business owner being crushed by government overreach. According to my cousin, who showed me the page, he raised about $400 before someone in the comments pointed out that he was fined for running an unlicensed business out of someone else's garage without permission. The donations stopped after that. He's now on a payment plan with the city. His fines will take about 18 months to pay off at the rate he's going. As for me, I filed a claim in small claims court for my missing tools. I have receipts for every major item, photographs of my organized garage before Derek started using it, and security footage showing him carrying tool bags in and out of the space. My court date is in 3 weeks. I'm not optimistic I'll ever see the money. You can't get blood from a stone, but I want it on record. My neighbor Margaret brought me cookies last week. "I'm sorry if I caused trouble," she said. "I didn't want to get anyone in trouble, but I couldn't take the noise anymore." "You didn't cause trouble," I told her. "You just reported what was happening. The trouble was caused by the person doing the wrong thing, not the person calling it out." She seemed relieved. "We've actually had coffee twice since then. She's a lovely woman, a retired schoolteacher, and she's been dealing with her own family drama involving an entitled grandson. We commiserated. The garage is mine again. I've cleaned it thoroughly, reorganized what tools I have left, and started the slow process of replacing what was stolen. It's going to take a while to rebuild my collection, but I'm getting there. I've also installed additional security measures, motion sensor lights, cameras with cloud storage, and a proper alarm system. Derek will never set foot in there again. The hardest part of all this isn't the money or the tools or even the legal hassle. It's the family fracture. I always knew my dad favored Derek. I always knew Linda saw me as an outsider. But hearing my dad say my dead mother would be ashamed of me? That cut deep. That's not something I can easily forgive. I've been doing a lot of thinking about what family means. I used to believe that family obligates you to sacrifice, that you should put up with bad behavior because blood is thicker than water. But I don't believe that anymore. Family should be a source of support, not a drain on your resources and mental health. Family should respect your boundaries, not trample them. Family should celebrate your successes, not try to exploit them. Derek didn't see my garage as a favor I was doing him. He saw it as something he was entitled to. My dad didn't see my refusal as boundary setting. He saw it as betrayal. Linda didn't see Derek's behavior as problematic. She saw my reaction to it as the problem. You can't reason with people who have decided you're the villain in their story. So here I am, asking the internet, am I the asshole for refusing to pay my stepbrother's fines? For cooperating with the city's investigation into his illegal business? For prioritizing my own property, my neighbor's peace, and my sanity over keeping the family together? I don't think I am. But my family clearly disagrees, and sometimes the people closest to you have the most distorted view. TLDR, my stepbrother, 28M, started borrowing my garage to do car repairs for cash without my permission. It escalated to him running a full illegal business, losing $2,000 of my tools, getting me code violations, and disturbing my neighbors. City investigated and fined him $2,750. Now my dad, 56M, and stepmom expect me to pay his fines because family helps family. I refused. Family has cut me off and says I'm cruel and selfish. AITA. Edit. I'm overwhelmed by the responses. To answer some common questions. Yes, I have already looked into whether I can pursue theft charges. The police said it's difficult to prove without direct evidence of him taking the tools, even with circumstantial evidence. Small claims is my best option. No, I never gave Derek a key. He apparently learned to pick the basic lock on my old garage door. That's why I upgraded to deadbolts and padlocks. For those asking why I let it go on so long, family guilt is powerful. I kept hoping he'd mature, that Dad would see reason, that it would work itself out. I know now that was naive. Several people have suggested Derek might have been selling my tools. Based on the types of items missing, high-value brand-name tools, easily pawnable, I think that's very likely. Oh, the person who said I should have called the police the first time he showed up uninvited, you're right. I should have. Lesson learned. Final update, posted 1 month later. The small claims court date happened. Derek didn't show up. I won a default judgment for $2,847, the value of the tools plus filing fees. Collecting it is another matter. I've started the process to garnish any wages if he ever gets a job, but I'm not holding my breath. More importantly, something unexpected happened. My dad's sister, my Aunt Rachel, reached out to me after hearing the whole story from another family member. She's been estranged from my dad for years due to similar issues. Apparently, he's been enabling bad behavior and expecting others to clean up the messes for most of his life. She told me stories about my mom, about how frustrated mom used to get with dad's refusal to hold people accountable. Your mom wouldn't be ashamed of you, Aunt Rachel said. She'd be proud. She'd be furious at your father for what he said. That conversation meant more to me than I can express. I'm done trying to maintain relationships with people who see me as a resource rather than a person. I'm focusing on my work, my home, and the people who actually treat me with respect. My neighbor Margaret and I have started a weekly coffee tradition. I've reconnected with old friends I'd neglected while dealing with family drama. I'm even dating someone, a woman I met at a home improvement store, of all places. She's kind, she's funny, and she thinks it's attractive that I have my own workshop. Her words, not mine. Derek is Derek. He'll probably never change. He'll probably bounce from situation to situation, expecting others to bail him out, blaming everyone but himself when it doesn't work out. That's not my problem anymore. And Dad? Maybe someday we'll talk again. But it won't be until he acknowledges what he said about my mother. That's my boundary, and I'm sticking to it. Life is better when you stop setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm. NTA, by the way. The comments were pretty unanimous on that one. Thanks, Reddit.